Hello everyone, I'm Hysterium, and this is Duty Complete. Today we are taking a look at the Minstrels Ballad, Ultima's Bane, or sometimes called Ultima Hard Mode, from the perspective of a scholar. I would like to stress that this is not necessarily a guide on Ultima's Bane, but rather an analysis of the fight you are about to watch as it pertains to the scholars. Ultima does a lot of AoEs, so it can be a little tricky sometimes to actively heal and dodge his AoEs, but he's actually not that hard to heal for. So the first thing that we do here is cast Protect, like every duty, and then the next thing that I do is summon Selene instead of Eos, because Serys already had Eos, and I was trying to provide something else to the party with my spell speed up and such. Now you notice that we only stone skin just the two tanks, and because we don't have a white mage, that's completely fine, and we applied Succor after that. Now here I actually should have waited to cast that Fey Glue and then moved to the side before, after Garuda popped up, but I didn't. It's just good to know to come to the side like that because Garuda comes out. Now the next thing to keep in mind is that the reason why we keep throwing up the Succor is it actually does a fair bit of damage mitigation. You can't easily throw stone skin around, and as you saw just then, the homing lasers actually don't do me for any damage because we keep throwing up the Succor. And then periodically tossing Dark there, our main tank at the time, and Ad Loquium. Now you can see that I mess up because I'm in the center where Titan drops down, and see it's best to stay on either side of Ultima instead of doing what I just did there. And then I throw down Sacred Soil, not because of those AoEs, but because Sacred Soil actually gives you a free Succor, and it actually ended up helping me because of those AoEs, as you saw. But it's good to note that throwing down Sacred Soil in instances like this where you're going to use Succor a lot for damage mitigation, you can get a free Succor out of throwing down Sacred Soil, and that also helps you with damage mitigation. So you'll actually see someone applying Mantra here, and if you ever see that get thrown up, especially in this instances where you're using Succor a lot, it will actually increase your shield on Succor. So that's actually a really good thing. So if you have someone in your party and they have Mantra, tell them to use it because it will help you a lot as the scholar and using Succor for this particular instance. Obviously this would be a lot easier with a white mage because there's they have regen and stuff like that that would help you out, and Medica too, and then you wouldn't have to use as much Succor, but the Succor would help with mitigation and keeping everyone healthy longer instead of having the white mage having to spam things. The other thing to note here is that I'm actually moving around a little too much for this fight. If you can help from moving around as much as I am, then you're actually probably better off that way. You won't have to dodge as much AoEs as you see me, struggling to dodge at times and actually getting hit by certain things. And what we just saw a second ago there was two people actually running to do those orbs. So it's good to know as a healer for this fight that if you see people going for those orbs, which they need to go for those orbs, usually several people, then you need to probably throw them an Ad Loquium or something, Succor, something. If you can help from it, if you can catch it fast enough, then it would help them so much more, because obviously they have to take a hit to get rid of those orbs, and that's something that has to happen. And you actually don't see me do that here, but I probably should have. So if you actually watch Dark Valifor here in the corner, our main tank, I'm actually going to start running towards the edge there with everyone else, and I kind of tunnel vision, and I probably shouldn't have done this, and had I not dropped that Sacred Soil just then and got a Lustrate off or a heal or an Ad Loquium, something, then Dark Valifor probably wouldn't have died in this particular instance. But like I said, I tunnel visioned, and this happens to a lot of people, and happens to me a lot. I completely forget that I'm not the only scholar, and I start trying to protect as many people as I can, not realizing that, hey, there's another scholar. I probably should focus on something else. Now the next thing that we see is that the orbs come back, And you'll notice what I was talking about earlier with the galvanized buff being on a couple people still from one of the suckers. And when they go to grab those orbs, they actually take a little bit less damage than they would have, and that might have been a combination of more people grabbing that orb and more people being around, and probably also a little bit of actually having that sucker there too. So like I said before, if you can help and throw up a sucker or something, if you can catch it quick enough, obviously it's not that big a deal. Most of us are probably overgeared for this trial anyways. So once we get to this percentage of the boss at least, it's basically nothing that we haven't seen throughout the rest of the fight. It's basically just dodging the same things, the magic tech bits and stuff like that, and healing through AoEs that people get hit by or don't get hit by, hopefully, and then healing the tank through some of the nastier abilities that the boss will continually throw at him. But basically it's not anything that we haven't seen already in this fight, and frankly, the rest of this fight goes pretty much boringly. You know, the orbs come back up again, and like I said, I probably should have threw up a sucker or something, or an adloquium to the people that were running for orbs, but, you know, in the heat of the moment, shoulda, coulda, woulda, and I didn't do those things. And then obviously putting down Sacred Soils again and getting that free sucker out of that every once in a while. Obviously it's a lower percentage chance, but, you know, it does help every once in a while, and it helps on your MP when you get a free sucker, and it's kind of like White Mage's free cure. It just doesn't pop up as much in my opinion. Well, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it and it was helpful to you. There's going to be more Duty Complete videos coming. I'm just not sure how I want to do them. I want to do dungeons and hard mode dungeons in particular, and I think what I will do is break it down into bosses instead of doing the entire dungeon itself, because sometimes dungeons, especially hard modes, can run a little bit longer than what most people would probably want to watch. But thanks for watching, and see you next time.